Alrighty then, we're going to be going ahead and dividing rational expressions. And we're going to use the exact same rules as when we divide rational numbers, right? So for instance, if I had a half divided by 3/4, the way that you would do that is you would keep your first number, you would change it from divide to multiply, and then you take the reciprocal of that, 4/3. Right, and then what we can do then is before multiplying 1 times 4 and 2 times 3, you first want to see if there's any common things that you can simplify. So I see 2 and 4 here, right? So I could divide that by 2 and get 1, divide that by 4 and get 2, and now 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, so 2/3. So we're going to use that same principle for now these little hairy ones with variables now, okay? All right, so let's first do that like we did here. We're going to first flip that. So 16k squared over 5 times that by 10 all over 3k. Okay, and now you get out your math sword and you start to wipe stuff out, right? But you have to do it by having a common factor. So for instance, 5 goes into 10 2 times, right? So if I divide that by 5, I get 1. If I divide that by 5, I get 2. Right? I see a k on the bottom and 2k on top, so I cross that out, and I don't have any more k's. And if I cross that one out, then I only have 1 left. Okay. It looks like I have a 16k on top. 16k on top. And then, oh wait, I have a 2 right here. So actually, 32k on top. And then I have a 3 then on the bottom. And that'll be that. Coming over here now, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip this guy first, and then I'm going to go ahead and factor everything. So let's just go and factor this guy, and then I'll flip it. So when I factor this guy, I would like to do my little karate X here. I multiply 3 times -2 is -6. Put a 5 in the denominator. 2 numbers that multiply and give me -6, and I add them to get 5. What's that? 6 and -1, right? 6 and -1. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3k squared minus 6k minus k minus 2. Okay, so again, I use the 6 and the -1 to rewrite 5k. 5k is the same thing as that should be a positive 6, right? Positive 6k minus 1k is the same thing as 5k right there. Okay, great. And so now I'm going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2 terms together, and then I'm going to factor the next 2 terms. I was going to try to group them. Let's see, just like that there. Good. But there should be a plus sign right there, because if there's no plus sign, this does not mean that these are multiplied together. That does not give you back this. Okay, so if I factor the first term right here, 3k squared plus 6k, they both have a 3 in common and they have a k in common. Okay, so 3k times what is k squared? Well, it's k. 3k times 1 is 6k. Is going to be plus 2. Great. Here, they both have a -1 in common, so if I factor that out, I get k plus 2. And this should always happen where whatever you have in both of these parentheses should always be exactly the same. And so we're going to go ahead and factor the k plus 2 out now. If I factor that out, I get k plus 2. And what do I have left? My 3k and my -1. 3k minus 1. Okay? So that just replaced this right here. All right, so maybe I'll move that down just a tad bit more. I guess it's grouping that whole thing there. I'll just rewrite it right here. Okay, so this whole thing is k plus 2 times 3k minus 1. Okay? All over. Now what about 9k squared minus 1? Well, this is a difference of 2 squares, meaning this is 3k plus 1 and 3k minus 1. Right? Because what you want to notice is that this is of the form of a squared minus b squared. Right, where our a squared was 3k squared, right? So this is like our a term was like 3k, and obviously 1 can be squared to get 1 right there. So it's written in 3k squared minus 1 squared. So this is written in a squared minus b squared, which is the same thing as a plus b times a minus b. And that's why I knew that this is what the factor would be in the denominator. Let's go ahead and multiply, and we're going to put this now on top. Okay, so it's going to go on top now. And if I factor it, I'm going to factor out a k, and I get k minus 7. Okay, so I'm factoring this right here. If I factor out my common factor of k, I have a k minus 7 left. Okay, and then now this goes in the denominator, and it looks like they have a 4k in common, a 4k. And then I would have k plus 2 back in there. And if you're not always quite sure if this is what should be back inside, just multiply it back out. 4k times k is 4k squared. 4k times 2 is 8k, right? All right, get out your math swords. Ho, yo, yo. Ho, yo. Ho, yo. I think that should be it right there. And what we have left then is a k minus 7. K minus 7 on top. And I have my 4 right there. 4 times 3k plus 1. Let me see if I can make that a little better there. There's 1. And there we go.